You think you know these songs? You've heard them at the cookout, at the wedding reception, on the radio late at night when you were driving somewhere you needed to be, and they hit you every single time, like they were written specifically for you. But here's what most people never stop to think about when they're listening. They never ask the question that changes everything. Where did that come from?
When there's no one around, oh yeah.
Because the difference between a song and a song that haunts you for 40 years is almost always the same answer. Something real happened. Something somebody had to get out of their body and into music because there was no other way to survive it. A moment in a car. A phone call that lasted 30 seconds. A room in a country that wasn't their own. A hotel lobby where someone looked at them and saw nothing worth helping. Today we're going inside 10 of the most beloved R&B songs ever recorded. Not just the notes and the actual stories. What happened right before the piano keys were touched. What was in the room. What was at stake. And once I tell you, you will never hear these songs the same way again. Trust me on that. Number 10, Midnight Train to Georgia. Gladys Knight and the Pips, 1973. Here's something that'll get you. One of the greatest love songs in the history of R&B was written in about 40 minutes by a country songwriter from Mississippi because he called the wrong phone number. Let me back up. It's 1970. Jim Weatherly is a songwriter living in Los Angeles. He picks up the phone to call his buddy, an actor named Lee Majors, who you might know from The $6 Million Man. But Lee doesn't pick up. His girlfriend answers instead. Her name is Farrah Fawcett. Before the red swimsuit, before Charlie's Angels, she's just a young woman in an LA apartment. And when Jim asks what she's up to, she says, and I want you to hear this, she says she's getting ready to catch a midnight plane to Houston to visit her folks. Jim gets off the phone, and within the hour, he writes a whole song. Midnight Plane to Houston, a story about a girl who came to LA chasing a dream that didn't work out, and the man who loves her enough to go home with her. The line he lands on, I'd rather live in her world than live without her in mine, locks the whole thing. But here's where it gets interesting. His publisher sends the song to Cissy Houston, that's Whitney Houston's mother, and she wants to record it. But she asks Jim if she can change the title. Because her people are from Georgia, she says. And they didn't take planes to Houston or anywhere else. They took trains. Jim says fine. Change anything but the rider. Cissy's version is quietly beautiful. But it doesn't blow up the way it should, and then it lands in the hands of Gladys Knight, who hears something in it that she can't shake. She imagines it as a soul record, full, textured, moody, something with an Al Green thing to it. She says she goes into the studio, and she records the lead vocal in one single take. One take. You can hear it. There's something in her voice that isn't performance. It's recognition. A woman singing about what it means to leave something great behind. Not because it wasn't great, because love is greater. That song hits number 1 in October of 1973. And somewhere in Hollywood, Farrah Fawcett goes about her day, never knowing she started any of it. Number 9, Lean on Me, Bill Withers, 1972. Most people discover their voice in their 20s. Bill Withers discovered his at 32. For a decade, he worked an assembly line at a Boeing aircraft plant in California. Building toilets for airplanes, there was no record deal, no talent show discovery moment. Just a man with a voice nobody outside his immediate circle had ever heard.
Might have a problem that you
going to work every morning and coming home and trying to figure out what his life was supposed to be. When he finally did record his first album in 1971, it wasn't because a label found him. It was because he decided at 32 that it was now or never. And then came Lean on Me. He wasn't sitting around thinking about hit records when he wrote it. He bought himself a little piano, set it up near a window, and started running his fingers up and down the keys. And what came up from somewhere deep wasn't an idea about music, it was a memory. We all need somebody. He grew up in a coal mining town called Slab Fork, West Virginia. Population small, income lower. Everybody was poor. His father died when he was 13. A lot of miners died young, he said, and what they all had in that little town was each other. If your family had a telephone but no refrigerator, you walked across the street to use your neighbor's refrigerator. If they needed to make a call, they walked back. Nobody kept score. Nobody waited to be asked. You just leaned. Somebody to lean on. And when he moved to Los Angeles and felt the city's particular loneliness, that thing about a big city where you can fall down on the sidewalk and nobody stops, he understood what Slab Fork had given him that Los Angeles couldn't. He sat down at that piano and made it exactly as simple as the truth it came from. We all need somebody to lean on. That song went to number 1 in July of 1972, and it has never really left. You've heard it at funerals and graduations, and in the middle of nights, you didn't know how to get through. And somewhere underneath every version you've ever heard, underneath the joy and the covers and the world-famous chorus, there's a 13-year-old boy in West Virginia learning what community means. Real talk, only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, The Tears of a Clown, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, 1970. I want to talk about a song that was nearly lost because nobody thought it was good enough. It's 1966. Stevie Wonder is 16 years old. 16, and he and his producer Hank Cosby have written this piece of music, rolling slightly carnival-ish, full of woodwind flourishes, and they love it. But they can't find the right words, they can't crack the lyric, so they bring it to the Motown Christmas party that year, and they play it for Smokey Robinson. Smokey listens, and the first thing it makes him think of is a circus. Now, Smokey had always been fascinated by a particular Italian opera, Pagliacci. The story of a clown named Canio who must make everyone laugh night after night, must paint a smile on his face and perform, even when his heart is completely shattered behind the makeup. The clown who cries, Smokey called him. He'd been writing around that image for years. He'd even used a version of the line in a song he wrote for another Motown artist back in 1964, but he never had the right music for it. He had it now. He spent a few days with their recording, and when the words came, they came from somewhere personal. The contradiction of having to show up bright and smiling when what's living inside you is the complete opposite. Not just about a clown, about everyone who's ever kept something dark hidden behind a public face. And if you're nodding right now, you know exactly what that feels like. Here's the part that gets me. They recorded the song, put it on an album in 1967, and buried it as the very last track. Smokey and Stevie both thought it was too strange to be a hit. They genuinely didn't see it, so it sat there in the dark for 3 years.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now here's that.
Then in 1970, Motown's UK office needed a new miracle single. There were no new songs, so they asked Karen Spreadbury, the head of their British fan club, not an executive, not a producer, to just pick something from the catalog. She picked that buried last track. The Tears of a Clown went to number 1 in the UK. Motown released it in America, and it hit number 1 on the Hot 100 too. Their first and only number 1 with Smokey as lead singer. Pulled out of a filing cabinet by a fan club volunteer who just thought it was beautiful. And somewhere in 1967, 2 of the greatest artists alive had almost let it go. Number 7, Killing Me Softly with His Song, Roberta Flack, 1973. A 19-year-old woman goes to a concert she didn't really want to attend, and what she writes on a napkin changes in music history. Her name is Lori Lieberman. It's November of 1971, and a friend drags her to the Troubadour Club in Los Angeles to see Don McLean perform. He's famous at this point. American Pie is everywhere. But Lori isn't really in the mood. She's going through something heavy. And then McLean steps on stage and starts singing a song called Empty Chairs, a song about lost love and empty spaces and coming home to a house that used to be full. And something about the way he sings it, directly, quietly, like he's talking to one person and only one person, makes Lori feel seen in a way that almost embarrasses her. She says later, I felt like he was up there reading my diary, singing about me and my life. She grabbed a napkin, started writing, right there in the club while he was still performing, trying to capture what it feels like when a stranger's music reaches into your chest and knows exactly where to press. She shared what she'd written with the songwriter she was working with. They shaped it into a song, Killing Me Softly with His Song. She recorded it first. It didn't chart, but a year later, Roberta Flack is on a plane from LA to New York, scanning through the in-flight music options when a title jumps out at her. She finds the Lieberman version. She listens to it 8, maybe 10 times in a row. She's jotting down the melody on scratch paper. When she lands, she calls Quincy Jones from the airport and asks how to reach the songwriter. Roberta changed the arrangement, changed parts of the chord structure, added a wordless bridge after the final chorus that opened the song up to a new kind of beauty, something that hadn't existed in Lori's version or in McLean's performance, something entirely her own. In 1973, it goes to number 1. She becomes the first artist ever to win the Grammy for Record of the Year in 2 consecutive years. Here's what hurts. Lori Lieberman was never given a writing credit. The experience, the poem, the napkin in the dark, never officially acknowledged. For decades, she had to watch her own emotional moments celebrated under someone else's name. She fought, she insisted that Don McLean himself confirmed her story and defended her publicly. And Roberta Flack, before she passed away in February of 2025 at age 88, wrote to Lori personally, I am forever grateful for your part in the writing of this song. Some recognitions come late. They still matter. With his words killing me softly. Number 6, I Will Always Love You, Whitney Houston and Dolly Parton, 1973-1992.
every step of the way.
I want to tell you a story that goes 3 different directions at once. Stay with me. It's 1973. Dolly Parton is trying to figure out how to tell her mentor that she's leaving.
Bittersweet.
His name is Porter Wagoner, country star, rhinestone suits, national television show. He found Dolly when she was 21 years old, put her on his nationally syndicated program, and helped build her career from the ground up. And now 7 years later, she knows she has to go her own way. She has to, but Porter doesn't want her to. He loves her like family, and he doesn't want to lose what they built. She sits down one afternoon and writes him a goodbye, not in words, in music. She goes to him, sits him down. "I've got something I need you to hear," she says. She sings it to him right there in the room. He starts crying, and when she finishes, he looks at her and says, "Well, hell, if you feel that strong about it, go on, but I'm producing that record because that's the best song you've ever written." Here's the first thing that gets me. She also wrote Jolene that same day, same afternoon, 2 of the most enduring songs in American music, both written before dinner. The second thing, and I know you're not ready for this, Elvis Presley wanted to record "I Will Always Love You." They had already booked the studio session. They'd already worked it up. Dolly had already told her friends about it. And then the night before the recording, Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager, calls her and says, "You know, Elvis doesn't record any song without getting at least half the publishing rights."
I'm taking with me.
And Dolly goes quiet. And then she says very carefully, "This has already been a hit for me. It's in my publishing company. It's what I'm leaving for my family when I'm gone. I can't give you half of it." Parker says, "Well, then we can't record the song." She cried all night. She'd already told everybody Elvis was doing her song. She was heartbroken, and then she kept the rights. 20 years later, Kevin Costner hears the song and puts it in The Bodyguard. Whitney Houston records it. It spends 14 consecutive weeks at number 1, a record at the time. It becomes the best-selling single ever recorded by a woman in American history. Dolly Parton has said, "I made enough money from that to buy Graceland." But here's the grace note. Priscilla Presley told Dolly something years later. She told her that on the day she and Elvis divorced, he leaned in close and sang that song to her. A few lines of "I Will Always Love You," the song he never got to record. Dolly said, "That touched me so deeply." Some songs find their way to the moment they were always meant for, even when the path takes 20 years. Number 5, Respect, Aretha Franklin, 1967. Otis Redding wrote Respect in 1965. And in his version, it is a man's song. A working man coming home at the end of a long day, wanting what he's earned. He's been out there providing, he's tired, and he wants respect when he walks through that door. It's a good song. It charted well. Otis was proud of it. And then Aretha Franklin heard it. She was in her apartment in Detroit, cleaning the place, she says. She had the radio on. And when Respect came through the speakers, something clicked. She heard the skeleton of what it could be. Not a man's entitlement, but something universal, something that belonged to anyone who had ever been overlooked or dismissed or minimized while carrying more weight than anyone acknowledged. She called her sister Carolyn. They sat at the piano together and started reshaping it from the inside out. Aretha changed the pronouns, changed the narrative, shifted the point of view from the one making demands to the one who refuses to beg for what should have been freely given. She added the spelling, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, so there would be no softening it, no ambiguity, no way to hear it as anything other than a declaration. She brought in her sisters Irma and Carolyn to call and respond, to create a wall of female solidarity around the central demand. She added, "Sock it to me," a phrase right out of their Detroit neighborhood, because she wanted the song to feel like something living, something real, something that came from a specific place and specific people. She walked into the Atlantic Record Studio in New York on Valentine's Day of 1967, and she laid down that entire performance, already knowing exactly what it was going to become. Otis Redding heard the finished record. He walked into his manager's office and said, "She done took my song." And people who were there say he said it with a particular mix of pride and ruefulness, because he understood it no longer belonged to him. It belonged to the women who heard themselves in it, to the black community that heard themselves in it, to everyone who had been treated like they didn't deserve to take up space. Respect went to number one. The civil rights movement claimed it. The women's liberation movement claimed it simultaneously, because it turned out R-E-S-P-E-C-T meant exactly what it meant to anyone who needed it to. Aretha was asked later if she knew what she was doing. She said, "It reflected the need of a nation. The businessman, the mother, the fireman, the teacher, everyone wanted respect, and everyone got it back." Number 4, People Get Ready. The Impressions, Curtis Mayfield, 1965. In August of 1963, 250,000 people gathered in Washington, D.C. And at the end of that day, in front of the Lincoln Memorial, Martin Luther King Jr. told them and told the world about a dream. Curtis Mayfield was not there, but he heard it, and it changed him. So people get ready. Curtis grew up in the Cabrini Green housing projects on the north side of Chicago. He understood poverty at a level most of us only read about. He had watched what it did to people, how it ground them down slowly, how it told them their lives were worth less than other lives, how the system around them seemed specifically designed to keep them in place. Thank the Lord. And when the civil rights movement began building momentum in the early 1960s, Curtis didn't stand apart from it and observe. He let it move through him. He carried it home. And in 1964, somewhere in between what he'd witnessed and what he believed was coming, he wrote, "People Get Ready." When the Impressions released it in January of 1965, something happened that doesn't happen often with pop music. The song immediately became more than a song. It became a spiritual, not religious in a narrow sense, in the truest sense. A song about movement, about belief, about a train that was coming and carrying people somewhere better. And that train was real to Curtis in a way that wasn't metaphorical. He was writing about the actual trains black families had taken during the Great Migration, the real journey north, the real hope of a better life. And he was writing about another kind of train, the one the movement was boarding, the one heading towards something that had been denied too long. Martin Luther King himself used the song at civil rights events. He understood what Curtis had done. He'd given the movement a sound, a feeling, something you could hold in your body while you were deciding whether to risk everything. Curtis Mayfield taught himself to play guitar with a tuning system he invented because he couldn't afford lessons. He grew up in a housing project, and he wrote a song that a movement claimed as its own. Rolling Stone placed it at number 24 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time, but the number doesn't tell you what it felt like to hear it in a church hall in 1965 while people around you were deciding whether to march. Number 3, Living for the City, Stevie Wonder, 1973. Stevie Wonder lost his sight days after birth. He was signed to Motown Records at 11 years old, and through all of it, through the child stardom, through Motown's machine, through everything, he was watching, he was listening, he was keeping track. By 1973, Stevie had forced Motown to give him total creative control. He produced his own albums. He played most of the instruments himself, and the album he made that year, Inner Visions, included a track that was unlike anything else on the radio, 7 minutes and 22 seconds. Living for the City. A young man is born in Mississippi. His family is poor. His father works 16 hours a day for $100 a week. The boy saves enough money to buy a bus ticket to New York, where he arrives full of belief in the possibility of something better. And then, New York doesn't just fail him, it consumes him. A stranger approaches him on the street, hands him a package, tells him to hold it. He doesn't know what's in it. The police arrive. He's convicted. And then, right there in the middle of the song, in real time, you hear what it sounds like when the system processes a young black man. Voices, mechanical, institutional, cold. Get in there, boy. Stevie put that scene in the middle of the song, not at the beginning to frame the story, not at the end for dramatic impact. In the middle, where you can't escape it, where it interrupts everything, because that's what it did in real life. It interrupted everything. This wasn't fiction to Stevie. He had watched it happen to people he grew up with in Michigan. Now, he had understood from a young age that the system wasn't broken. It was doing exactly what it was designed to do, just not in favor of anyone who looked like him. Living for the City wasn't a commentary on urban poverty. It was a documentary, a case file put to music. It is still one of the most precise portrayals of a specific American injustice ever committed to sound. And Stevie Wonder was 23 years old when he made it. Number 2, What's Going On? Marvin Gaye, 1971. Let me tell you about a moment in 1969 that almost didn't happen. It's May 15th. The Four Tops are on their tour bus in California when they roll through Berkeley. And there, at a place called People's Park, they see something none of them will forget. Ronaldo Obi Benson, the bass singer of the Four Tops, watches police officers fire live ammunition into a crowd of anti-war protesters. The day would become known as Bloody Thursday. One person is killed, 50 others are injured. Benson stands there watching and something breaks open in him. He goes home and sits down with a songwriter friend named Al Cleveland, and they write a song around the questions he couldn't stop asking. And then he takes it back to the Four Tops. His own group, they turn it down. They say it's a protest song, and they don't do protest songs. Benson pushes back. It's not a protest song, he says. It's a love song about love and understanding. I want to know what's going on. They still say no. So Benson brings it to Marvin Gaye on a golf course, plays it on a guitar, and Marvin feels the shape of it, the quiet devastation of it, and he knows it belongs to him. He takes it home and he tailors it to fit his own grief. His brother Frankie had come back from 3 years in Vietnam. Marvin had been reading his letters about what it was like over there. The conditions, the treatment of black veterans when they returned, what the war was doing to young men who didn't choose it. Marvin's cousin had died in the war.
So you can see what's going on.
His personal life was in ruins. His singing partner, Tammy Terrell, had collapsed in his arms on stage and died from a brain tumor just a year earlier. He had asked himself the question out loud, with the world exploding around me, how am I supposed to keep singing love songs? He brings the finished recording to Berry Gordy. Gordy says no. He calls it, and this is a real quote, the worst thing I ever heard in my life. He says it sounds like old jazz. He doesn't want Motown associated with political statements. And Marvin Gaye tells him, I will not record another song until you release this one. He goes on strike. The song gets pressed to 100,000 copies and sent to radio stations almost behind Gordy's back. Within a week, 200,000 copies have been sold. Fastest selling Motown single in history. Berry Gordy later admitted he was wrong. And here's the detail I can't stop thinking about. Marvin's friends from the Detroit Lions, football players Mel Farr and Lem Barney, are the ones singing backing vocals on that track. They were invited to a session casually. They showed up and sang. Their voices are underneath everything you've ever been moved by. Rolling Stone eventually placed What's Going On among the top 10 greatest songs ever recorded. A song that Berry Gordy called the worst thing he'd ever heard. We almost didn't get it. That's the part that stays with me. Number 1, A Change Is Gonna Come, Sam Cooke, 1964.
Long time coming, but I know.
October 8th, 1963, Shreveport, Louisiana. Sam Cooke is already famous, already had You Send Me in Wonderful World and Twistin' the Night Away. He's a crossover star. He has a Maserati. He calls ahead to the Holiday Inn on North Market Street to book rooms for himself, his wife Barbara, and his group. He confirms the reservation. He drives 4 hours to get there.
Hey brother, help me please.
And when he walks up to the desk, the clerk looks up and says there are no vacancies. There are vacancies. Sam knows it. Everyone in that lobby knows it. His brother Charles starts protesting. And Sam Cooke, one of the most famous voices in America, starts to argue too. He demands to see the manager. He refuses to leave.
A long time coming, but I know.
His wife Barbara leans in and says, very quietly, they'll kill you. Sam says, they ain't gonna kill me. I'm Sam Cooke. To which his wife says, no, to them, you're just another. You know the end of that sentence.
Hang around. It's been a long.
They eventually leave, drive to the Castle Hotel across town, one of the only places black travelers could stay. And before they get settled, the police are there waiting. They're arrested for disturbing the peace. They spend hours in jail, pay their bonds. Sam performs the show that night anyway. There was a bomb threat at the venue, and he still performs. And sometime in those hours, in the holding cell, on the drive, in the silence after all that, Sam Cooke begins composing a song. Here's the other thing you need to know.
Change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
He had recently heard Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan, and the song haunted him, not because it wasn't beautiful, but because of the question underneath it that it took a white man to write it. He had been thinking about writing something of his own for months.
A long time coming,
The March on Washington had happened 6 weeks before his arrest. Martin Luther King had stood in front of 250,000 people and said, "I have a dream." Sam went home and wrote, "A Change Is Gonna Come." He played it for his friend Bobby Womack, and Womack said, "This sounds like death."
It's been too hard.
Sam said, "Yep, that's a little how it sounds to me too." And Sam Cooke never performed that song again after recording it. He said the arrangement was too complex and the weight of it was too much. But I think what he meant was he was a little afraid of it. And maybe he should have been, because the song sounds like a man who has a premonition about where his life is heading.
Oh, yes it will.
A Change Is Gonna Come was released as a single on December 22nd, 1964. Sam Cooke had been shot and killed 11 days earlier. He never heard it on the radio, never saw it become what it became, the anthem that the civil rights movement took as its own, the song that played in Spike Lee's film Malcolm X at the moment of reckoning.
'Cause I don't know what's up there.
The song that's been covered more than 500 times, the song that Rolling Stone ranked number 3 on their list of the greatest songs ever recorded from number 3, right behind Like a Rolling Stone and Satisfaction. He wrote it in a jail cell in Shreveport because a hotel desk clerk looked at him and decided he wasn't worth helping. And then it mattered to everyone on earth.
A change gonna come.